welcome. My name is Kate Marand. I'm a program manager at the Department of Small and Local Business Development. Thank you so much for joining us today for a presentation about a new youth entrepreneurship option that is coming forward. This is a recruitment and information session. DSLBD is so happy to be partnering with Solutions by SF and FutureFirst as promotional partners so people can learn about this opportunity. We are recording today's session. Please feel free to use the chat to ask any questions, but we're just going to jump right in, and I'm going to turn things over to Sheila Casasa to get us started.
Hi, Kate. Thank you so much for having us. It's always a pleasure working with you all. Hi, everybody. My name is Sheila Casasa. I'm the CEO of FutureFirst. FutureFirst has been serving DC youth for the last 4 years. So we've been really a pioneer within the community and focusing on entrepreneurship and tech education. I am going to hand everything off to Kendrick Jackson, our Director of Government Relations, as well as Solutions by SF CEO. She also joined the call. She'll also have a chance to introduce herself. And just to emphasize, feel free to chat us in the chat box if you have any questions or send us an email. And stay on mute. It'll make it a lot easier for everybody to be able to ask questions. Thank you. Kendrick, if you want to kick us off.
Oh, excellent. Yes, and then also, my name's Kendrick Jackson. Government Relations and Community Relations for FutureFirst. I'm really excited to be doing this program primarily because we've been working with DSLBD the past few years, and we've also been working with Solutions by SF and various different youth programs over the last year. So definitely excited to walk you all through it. To get through all of this, definitely want to make sure you also get introduced to Shamika Farquhar, who's also here as well, who's leading this endeavor. Okay. All right. Well,
Morning.
All right. Cool beans. We're just gonna keep piling through. Shamika, if you want to just message us, we'll get you in. But I wanted to just give you a quick understanding of how we're gonna go through this. I will walk you briefly through the presentation of the program, what to expect, what's going on, and then from there, we'll open it up for questions, concerns, and comments. And that's where I'll hand it over to Shamika to make sure that she can answer any questions, concerns, or comments you all may have. Does that work for everybody?
Sounds good. Thank you, Kendrick.
All right, and I'm also streaming this on Facebook Live. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, Facebook Live isn't allowing me to share my screen. So unfortunately, you all are just going to have to be looking at my face, and we will. This is being recorded, so please, if you're like, hey, listen, I'm tired of staring at your face. Please text me or email me, and I'll make sure you get a copy of it. All right, Kate, and Kate is going to be the maestro and helping guide me through this. I'm not gonna read everything on the email, or I'm sorry, in the screen. I'm just gonna do a high level walkthrough, and then we can open it up. One of the other things too that I wanted to open up and give it some time for is not just for questions and answers that you all may have, but also items that you in the community may think that we may have sort of missed, or things that we can know as well. This is definitely an open stakeholder conversation as well, to continue on our previous conversations through the DSLBD. Okay. Okay, we're going to go through the introduction. We're going to cover the team. We're going to go through the YELP program overview. and then we're gonna go through what your journey towards success is. So we have three pillars that we're focusing on. We have the preparing and tech training, creating and scaling radical tech pedagogy around entrepreneurship, and executing digital, in-person, and diversity inclusion. We've done this throughout the past few years, primarily with a pilot program that we did with DSLBD called DC Youth Corps. It was a 12-week program that allowed us to incorporate on-the-job training through the Summer Youth Employment Program with comprehensive tech skills. It's a very successful program, and we're happy to continue to be building off of that as well. So far, we've touched about 500 individuals in the DC area, focusing really on tech-enabled partnerships. And I want to focus on letting you know that our company isn't primarily just focused on the tech industry, but when we originally came up with the concept for DC Youth Corps, we realized that the tech industry itself was highly available for jobs that didn't necessarily require college degrees, and they were also willing to work with individuals that came from various backgrounds, whether they were returned citizens, whether they were foster youth, or what have you. A lot of the barriers to entry and be successful in these fields, we noticed weren't there within the tech sector. So we have been able to establish relationships with Amazon and Google and various other firms. And we're now focusing on building out how we can make impactful change to all of these structures, not just in technology, but in other areas. Okay, this is the team right here. We have myself. Shamika, are you here? Can you hear us? Can we hear you?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shamika Farquhar, as Kendrick and Sheila had mentioned a couple times. Sorry, I couldn't chat with you earlier. I'm the founder and CEO of Solutions by SF. So we are hosting the programming for this summer, for the rest of the year. Let's just say that while we're getting kicked off in the summer, as you'll see, it's pretty extensive, and we're really excited to engage with you until the end of the year. You'll see a bit of me early in the program, but hear a lot more from Solutions by SF team after you've gone through a lot of the structured programming, which Kendrick is going to go into in the presentation, and we'll have a lot of check-ins later on towards the year. So just really excited that you're here on this info session and excited about projecting you to your next level through entrepreneurship. Kendrick, you're on mute, dear.
Sheila, is there anything you would like to say? You're on mute too. So
we're all on mute, guys.
I'm gonna take your smile
No,
as a no.
I'm just really excited.
All right, we can go to the
I
next
know.
slide.
As you all could tell, we're very
All right, so we're just gonna, in this situation, go through the overview of the program, what you can expect by being in it, the length of it, and sort of intended outcomes of the content. So here is the timeline. Obviously, you can see we have week 1 through 8, which is in the classroom. Obviously, it's going to be online this year, so that we're practicing proper social distancing with COVID-19. So we're going to start off with sort of the work readiness and building a relationship and relationship building. We then will focus on the financial literacy from that piece, and we have some areas that we are covering with a couple of different partners that we're establishing. We are talking with various community development financial institutes in the region that have extensive credit building programs, so that by the time you're done the first 8 weeks, you will have already established a solid relationship with individuals within the banking industry, so they'll know who you are and they'll know sort of where you're intending on going. And it's a pretty intensive boot camp. You will be paid weekly as you go through this, but it's really designed to make sure that you have the fundamental skills within the first 2 months to really be able to start to actually know what to do with your ideas. Following that 8 weeks, we'll be going on to business formation, and then we'll go through entrepreneurial milestones to be able to make sure that you're hitting those goals. And those goals can be anywhere from, hey, I'd like to have a website developed by this time, or I'd like to be able to have some mentors, and then ultimately making sure that any of your personal development corresponds directly with your future planning. So it's a real soup to nuts program that focuses on making sure that you not only have the skills, but you're also able to put those skills into play relatively easy throughout the program. So you're not going to leave the program without at least being able to attempt your ideas and start very small. Because again, a lot of these business ideas that a lot of people have in the beginning are not necessarily the only business ideas that they're going to be able to execute. Our goal is by the time you're done, whether you're working on the idea that you created in this program or not, any idea that comes to your head, you'll have the fundamental skills to be able to understand how to start, how to identify the problem, the solution, and be able to identify revenue streams to be able to solve that problem for yourself and your customers. So yeah, we're going to be covering public speaking, relationship building, as I said, and self-awareness and reflection. That know thyself skill set is really important because the foundation of being a successful entrepreneur is being able to have those person in the mirror moments. If you're a fan of Michael Jackson, I think the real question is, are you willing to be able to make sure that these outcomes are something that you ultimately want to have for yourself? Because this is a really highly competitive program. I may say this a couple more times, but we have almost 200 people who have applied for this so far. So we're really wanting to make sure that you get the most out of this. And even if you don't get accepted for this program, that's fine, because this will be going on in the future. But we just want to ensure that these outcomes are something that you are willing to be able to walk away with and you're happy with. So as we go through these slides, I'm not going to read through all of them. I'm going to just cover the contents. And then I'd like you all to be able to just keep an eye out on some of these learning outcomes. And I'll cover some of the bullet points, but I'm not going to cover it all for people who can't hear. So in this situation, after you do the public speaking, relationship building, and self-awareness, you're going to hopefully feel more confident when you're communicating with people, and you understand how to effectively communicate with them in order to get a win-win situation out of it. And as you're going through this, you will have some mentorships to be able to make sure that you're doing some of the right things. And if you have some constructive criticism, they're going to be able to talk to you in a way that makes sense.
Just jumping in with a quick point, guys, as Kendrick mentioned, we really want to be able to offer you the best experience. And, this is an ongoing, all business relationships, as we'll talk about in the program, are ongoing. And so we definitely encourage everyone to apply. And I'd also say, while we're all here, don't be shy to put your questions into the chat. So as Kendrick mentioned, there are going to be things that you're going to see that he may not mention in his, in his spiel, but ask the questions, because we're really trying to get a better understanding of what you're looking for, as well as making sure that we're a good fit for each other, because the program is going to work the best if you guys are committed to the goals and we understand that we're working towards a commonality. And when I say ask the questions, drop them in the chat, not necessarily taking yourselves off of mute, so that we can manage the conversation. Sorry to sidebar, Kendrick. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, this is great. Yeah, so if you and Sheila, because it's going to be hard, I try to pay attention to the chat sometimes.
We got you. You keep going. We'll flag
you. Okay, cool. So resume writing, professional attire. These are some of the contents just in regards to when you're the CEO of a company, whether you're trying to start a business right now or you're trying to learn a business. One of the things that we also want you to know is that this isn't something that you necessarily have to jump face first in or head first in. You, as an entrepreneur, if you want to say, hey, listen, I'd love to open up an ice cream stand, or I'd love to open up a dog walking company, or I'd love to open up a cybersecurity firm, we're going to help you build up your resume and identify the skill sets that you need in order to be able to qualify for jobs within those companies. Because it's really important that you know what you're talking about and you have that experience of working within those organizations, that gives you a lot more credibility when you're trying to raise investment. So if you say, hey, listen, I'm trying to open up my own, cupcake shop. Okay, well, what's your experience? Well, I've been baking cupcakes. I have my grandmother's recipe for years, and I also worked at a cupcake place for the last 5 years. I was a manager, so I understand a lot of these expertise that's needed. I understand the finance. I understand managing people. I understand working with large numbers and keeping the count right. So that all comes into place when you're talking about professional attire, making sure you look the part and you be the part, making sure that you have the financial literacy. Every entrepreneur that I know that is successful are some of the most financially literate people in the world. Because when you have a business, you have to be extremely financially literate, or else you're not going to be able to support yourself and your team. Digital marketing and graphic design. That's important because some of the hardest startup skills for a lot of entrepreneurs are always going to be the web developments, the design, the marketing. So we want to be able to give you some of those base skills so that not only will you be able to grow within your organization and have additional skill sets for these jobs that you're applying for, but you're also able to apply those directly to your to your business. And again, these are outcomes on the side. Develop and produce your own resume, dress for success. That's what you're going to know how to do. It's not about fashion. It's about just embracing your personal style and being able to make sure that that's being able to be reflective of who you are and where you come from in a way that is representing them in the best possible way. Yeah. All right. So yeah, entrepreneurship basics. You're going to get a quick introduction to a lot of these courses based on sort of business plan creation, understanding sort of what a business certification is, all the licensing that you need to have, what clean hands is. Clean hands is something that's very important for you to have as a business owner. If you want to get a contract or a grant or anything relating to your business done by the city, you cannot owe the city any money. So whether that be a parking ticket or some sort of lawsuit or some fine or anything or a back contract, you need to have clean hands with the city. So these are all great things for you to be able to know, because whether your idea is $1 billion idea or it's only going to generate you maybe $40,000 to $50,000 a year, you can't do any of that without having the base understanding of what paperwork you need to have filed with DC. And you'll really get from that through the mentorship, people who have already gone through that, so they can give you the dates and the times that you need to be aware of when these need to be filed before you start doing your next step. So business innovation, discovery to market. This is probably my favorite part because it allows me to know whether or not I'm on the right track in my business or if I need to make a pivot. So you can understand the link between innovation and entrepreneurship here, and allows you to identify really what your customers' problems are and whether or not your solution is bringing a value to them, or if it's just something that it's a nice to have. And once you realize what value you bring to these customers after you've identified that they have a problem, it allows you to model your business strictly around those customers. So if you say, listen, I've noticed that a lot of people in my neighborhood, really need, a place to grab, some tea or some coffee through a certain period of time. I've talked to them. They're all going to Starbucks and these other places a few blocks down, but they could really use it here. You model something based on their needs, you will be able to be successful. So we'll show you exactly how to do that and be able to test it to make sure that this isn't something that is you're going out there and you're testing it out and it's not going to work. We want you to be able to embrace failure and embrace failure very fast, because that's what entrepreneurship is about. And as you're embracing those failures, it's okay. What it's not okay to do is continue to make the same mistakes. And that's why it's important to have those mentors there to be able to make sure that you're getting the right toolkits and you have the tools available to be able to help create the best value for your customers. Slide through this. All right. How to launch your dream business. I'm a big fan of Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill book. It's very basic concepts on being able to solve problems. It's a really old book, but it doesn't matter sort of where you're from or what your race or your creed is or your economic background. It has some very simple principles that focus on the essence, the essential components of business. It talks about building teams and really making sure that your brand is always one of going above and beyond with your business. And we really are going to show you that, because once you have a dream business in mind, you have to understand sort of what makes you unique, what's your unfair advantage to be successful. So we'll cover all that as we're formulating your business to really make sure that this is something real that you can get out there and test out. And at the same time, we all know that there's no such thing as a lone ranger in successful businesses. No matter what business you look at, you see CEOs out there and they're like, oh, well, we all know Facebook wasn't started by just Mark Zuckerberg. We all know Microsoft and these other large companies, Ford and what have you, they had a team. And there's a specific way you need to be able to work with your team, build your team, and help get them to grow beyond the role in the position that they have. Because if they're going above and beyond, they're going to help your business grow. And by growing your business, you're going to be in a space to be able to help them grow as an individual. So you have to think about more than just yourself. And we're going to go through the process of being resourceful, being able to ask for help, and being able to manage your budget properly so that you know when you can say, hey, I need you to do this as a favor, or hey, I'm going to actually be able to pay you out a little bit over a period of time to help me. Yeah, that's right. Growing your business. So the biggest piece about entrepreneurship, and that always fascinated me the most, was the moment somebody gave me some money to do what I told them I could do. And that part is really difficult, because especially when you're starting a business, you have very little track record minus maybe your experience, but your business has no experience. So you need to identify who are the right customers, who are the early adopters, and how do we keep them around to stay in business while we're trying to reach the masses. And as we're doing that, we want to grow and get written up in papers and have people talk about us on Instagram and blog and all of that. But you need to have a foundation, and you really need to have a clear focus on exactly who that customer is. And we're going to go into that. So by the end of this, you're going to really understand how to identify these people, who they are, and how to reach them, and to be able to sustain them as customers. Sustainability. So, we talk about impact. We talked about, how to scale this out, but it, really boils down to being sustainable. If I'm charging somebody $100 to do a service, but but it actually costs me $90, and I'm only making $10 at the end of the day, but I still have a lot more bills to pay after that, I may have to restructure how my business is put together. I need to look at the cost of my goods. I may need to look at the cost of my time. I need to look at how long is it going to take me to make the money back that I've already put into it at the end of every month. So I know, okay, well, if I have 100 customers, I know that at customer number 20, I've broken even. So customer 21 is profit. We really want you to eye in on that early. And that's so important, because once you get that in and you're like, oh, listen, I have my business model down, and I also know that like I only need to sell 5 of these until I'm profitable, but I have the ability to sell 50 of them. And you know that at a very early age in your business, it makes things a lot easier for you to be able to maneuver as you're going through. And if you're at a point where you're like, I'm already starting to make some money, then you're also looking at your credit that we've worked on. Now, these relationships that we're building for you, these mentors, people are looking at your track record over the course of this class, and now they're willing to put their name out there to refer you to be able to get some funding, to be able to really grow this out. So the sustainability needs to be always at the top of your mind when you wake up in the morning, when you're checking in on your team in the midday, and then when you're closing out at the end of the day. Always knowing whether or not your business is able to stay open. That is what we're talking about when we speak about sustainability. So projects, initial planning. So project management is almost a separate skill in itself. But when you're an entrepreneur, you have to be prepared to be able to put on that suit, put on that outfit, that you're ready to go down and talk to venture capitalists. You're ready to go down to the beach, to the bank, not the beach. You're ready to go down to the bank and be able to get that loan that you need. But you're also going to have to do other things all the way down to potentially even unclogging a toilet. Now, these are all projects that you have to prioritize and make sure that you are hitting them at the exact deadlines that you set for yourself. And that's going to be so important to really make sure that you have that inside understanding of being able to have that self care that allows you to be able to go to sleep on time, wake up on time, and hit these goals on a daily basis. So that is what we'll go through. We'll go through the different phases of the project. We'll be able to recognize whatever constraints you have, because no matter what's happening, when you're the CEO, you're the project manager of every department in your business until you hire someone to then be the project manager. Now, the cool thing about this is even after you finish this class, if you say, you know what, I don't necessarily want to go into this business, but I do want to apply these project management skills into a job in the future, these skills will definitely be able to help you stand out amongst the candidates who are going after specific jobs that you're going after right now, to give you that experience. Excellent. So we're going to cover in this space, we're going to cover scheduling and budgeting. We're going to cover managing your resources, setting your goals, and being able to monitor your feedback. Now, that's really important. And I'm even dealing with this right now as a business owner, where we're constantly hitting up our clients and we're constantly hitting up our students and our participants to make sure that we're always sharp and we can pivot and move in case we have an issue. So if I'm checking in with my students every other day, then I can fix a problem that I noticed that happened yesterday versus me checking in with them every other week and having maybe 2 weeks go by with a problem that could have been quickly fixed earlier. So we want to get you to be alert and train your mind so that when you start to see issues, you can attack them earlier and be able to then go after some of the larger areas. Our goal with teaching you project management is to ensure that you always know where everything is at any given time in your business, so that once you have that set up, you can just focus on making money. And that is the real key goal to entrepreneurship. Focus on always going after making more money to sustain yourself, your family, and your business. Again, we're going to be covering risk. We're going to be focusing on what those risks look like. We'll also be talking about risk in your everyday life as well, and in the comparisons. And we can also identify specific projects, whether they're ambiguous projects that you don't really understand, and how to take all that information and bring it in, and then be able to really define a purpose of the project and be able to know sort of what your limitations are, so that if you need to bring someone in to help you, you feel confident enough to not only be able to ask for help, but be able to ask for help in a very specific way. So if you're saying, hey, listen, I need you to do this for free, people can know, okay, well, I can do this and that for free, but I can't do that and this. And being honest with yourself so that you can be honest with other people who are really ready right now to help you. Everyone on this call, you know someone, or 2 or 3 people who are willing to help you out if you see that you're doing what you need to do to be able to hit your end goal. So now we're talking about the LMS work sessions. Our LMS work sessions, I'm gonna actually, Sheila, do you want to take over this one for a second so I can take a break and we can go into it?
Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome. So what's exciting about our program is we have an LMS system, which is a learning management system. And all this is a system that you can log into from your phone, your computer, your tablet to get continued education support. Let's say you're going through the program and you learn how to acquire your first customer, and you're just like, I want more information on this. All you do is log in, which will provide you with the information, and you can go to the customer section in the business section and click. When you click that, you'll be able to find videos, you'll be able to find different documents you can read up on. You can also find worksheets to be able to write out what your customer journey will be. So the LMS will have all supplemental education programming that you will already learn in class, but it will be resources you can access after hours, on the weekend, or just go back to during class if you have, some spare time. So the LMS is just a tool for you to use anytime you just need more information. But some of your instructors might also use it during class sessions. Let's say you have a break during class, or it's just easier for more, something to be explained further on the LMS system. If you've used Blackboard in the past, it's a little similar to Blackboard. I'm not sure if you've used other systems in the past, but it's very user friendly. And that's it, Kendrick, if you want to touch on anything else. But I hope you guys like it.
No, that was perfect. So yeah, so we're definitely going to be opening up our our Rolodex of individuals. I'm really happy that people on my Facebook Live have been saying how they can be asking how they can be helpful. So that's part of it. I mean, it wouldn't be I'd be remiss if I didn't open up my network to all of you, based on seeing the hard work that you're putting in and knowing that success in business is primarily based on relationships. So in these situations, when you have these lunch and learns, not only are you building a relationship with someone who is in a position that you may want to be in, but you're also getting information from them that have the real proper vehicles so that you can be successful. And I tell my students this all the time that, luck is preparation meeting opportunity. So in that case, everyone on this call has the ability to make their own luck and be able to be successful in their own way. And part of that is being able to open your mouth and say, hey, listen, I'd like to ask some more information. Here's where I am. And we're going to show you how to do that, how to follow up with individuals after the lunch and learns, after the sessions. So you're ready to start to build what your professional network looks like. And at the same time, you may be able to have individuals who may be able to be advisors for you as you're launching your business. But you always want to make sure you're in the right space to be able to reach out to people, because anytime I reach out to someone to mentor me and guide me, they always have some homework. And the next time that I follow up with them, if I haven't done all those things that they've asked for, they're probably not going to want to waste their time on me. So we want to make sure that you not only are respecting your time, but you're respecting other people's time. And we do this piece where it's time management and self care. I call it self care or self management. And I think it's really important that you all take that into consideration with this, because it's not a lot of money that you're going to get paid to go through this, but at the same time, it's a lot of requirement, both mentally and physically, to ensure that something successful happens and that you're starting to build positive work habits. It's going to take about 3 months. That's why we've really structured our program out this way, to really build those habits. And then once you have them, it's going to be hard to unlearn. And whether you're doing your business or not, you'll still be able to apply those in skills for the rest of your life. All right. So, as you know, if you have any questions, we got the brother right here. This is the time for it. And I appreciate all of you for staying on. I tried to keep it short, sweet, and to the point. But I'd like to open it up not just for questions in regards to this program, but also just overall questions in regards to entrepreneurship in general, specifically dealing with this community. We have an extensive experience with working with all students throughout the city, and we're an open book. So please feel free to ask away, and we thank you for the time. I went through that a lot faster than I expected to, by the way.
Don't all jump up at once.
I'm going to unmute folks on the line just in case anyone who is called in by phone does have a question. You've been muted during the presentation. We're going to briefly unmute you. If it's really loud, we might mute you again.
My name is Ariana. Hi. I seen somebody ask a question in the chat. They said, how do you know if you're accepted? Or at least I think that was the chat. They said, how do you know if you're accepted into the program? So I guess I had that question too.
So Kendrick, you want to take them through kind of the process? Correct me if I'm wrong. So starting, you guys would apply via the link. Once you apply, we'll reach out to those who get granted interviews. And after the interview, there's also the final stage is vetting with the Office of Youth Programming. So there'll be specific paperwork that they'll have to verify to make sure that you're WOIA certified. And at that point in time, then we can say you're definitely in the program. So while, as we mentioned, we're trying to make sure it's a good match, both for our program, for you, what your goals and aspirations are, so we can support you through that. We also do have some, we like to call the paperwork. It's an OIP funded program, so they will be actually paying for your training until December. And so there are specific items of paperwork. Every individual may have different requirements in terms of what they're trying to prove that they're WOIA certified. So at that point in time after your interview, you'll get that information. And after you chat with DOES, then you would know about acceptance. It sounds longer because I'm giving you lots of details. It's two conversations. I just try to give you all the details to answer the questions. Does that help, Ariana?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and just so you know, just so you can walk through the process, those conversations are really going to be focused around your business as well when you're going through our interview. So once we identify that you during the qualification stage, it's really important that you talk about your business. I know some of you who are on this who have already applied have been asked a lot of questions specifically around your business. It's really important because we want to make sure that you're ready to hit the ground running with this idea. But even if you don't quite have an idea yet, I'm to apply, because even if you don't get in this cohort, you will be in a space where we can still continue to send you updates and a lot of resources and making sure that we keep you engaged. And I see another question here. Will the program be virtual or in person? As it stands right now, we will be virtual until further notice. We do have a university partner that we are teaching our classes out of. It's called Bay Atlantic University. They're on 8th Street, right next to the McPherson Square Metro. We've been teaching classes there for the past year. So we do have physical space. If physical space ever does become a thing in 2020. But for right now, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that you all are safe. Now, that then goes into questions in regards to what type of equipment you have. We do have some equipment requirements. We do need you to have a computer with a microphone and potentially a camera. If you don't have a camera, it's okay, but we would prefer you to have a camera so that you can have as much of the interactive process with not just your mentors or instructors, but also your colleagues in your cohort, because you will be working on teams in some assignments. It says, how exactly would you hold it and when you get paid? That is a great question, Aiken. Sherm, do you want to talk? Shamika, do you want to talk to me about that?
So payment is on a biweekly schedule, like with everything in Department of Employment Services. I want to say I am 90% sure they'll likely be through payment cards. So if you've ever done summer youth employment, that's how they pay students that way. But we will take that as a follow-on note, and when we share resources, we'll get that question answered. But it does happen on a bi-weekly basis.
When does the program start?
The program starts on August 3rd. So thinking about the programming ranging from August 3rd through the end of the year.
Yeah. And again, going back to that, I'm sorry, did somebody have a question?
I have one more question. Hello?
Yes.
And then I'm more of the HGTV and stuff like that, and then plus news and stuff like that.
Sure. So your locals and then just the basics.
Basics, yeah. And we don't have time
Hey, Kate, do you mind muting Sam?
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Thank you. I'm sorry, ma'am. Just a question.
I just wanted to know, because I heard a little earlier that you said it was basically mostly technical entrepreneurship, but is it only technical entrepreneurship?
No, and thank you for asking that question. I'm really happy you did in case anybody else was confused by that. We have, we started off really focusing on technical training and entrepreneurship, because when we first started the program, we taught entrepreneurship as professional development, because we felt a lot of the skills that you would learn as an entrepreneur apply to professional development. You learn financial literacy, you're learning how to speak, you're learning how to talk to other people, how to delegate tasks. So you learn a lot of leadership skills through entrepreneurship that are transferable to a normal job. But in this situation, it doesn't matter whether you want to open up a restaurant, whether you want to open up a grooming store for pets, open up a car wash spot, or a cybersecurity mobile app development company. All businesses are welcome. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that does. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It says, when the program ends, are we presenting our business to an audience? Yeah, so we'll get into that depending on, so we did this last year where some people presented their business and some people don't. I'm a little torn between whether or not you want to present your business publicly or not, because I know people who have decided that they didn't want to present and they didn't feel comfortable doing it, but they felt comfortable submitting their information to some people and getting it pushed through in a smaller setting, and they're relatively successful. So we will have a final capstone for you all to be able to present to a group of people. We'll have some judges and we'll work some things out. But even if you don't present, that does not exclude you from being able to complete the program and get the perks of what you want next. Again, not everybody is required to have a business by the time they complete this program. Everybody is required to complete the program and go through all of the proper training. So you can't leave the program saying you don't know the fundamentals of being able to create, operate, and potentially even sell your business. That you won't be able to walk away saying you can't do. But it's up to you whether or not you want to present your business to an audience or not.
So So there's also the question about the meeting session. So remember, your training, we have a daily schedule, and a lot of our initial programming is going to be on the LMS that Sheila described. And so you'll have the ability, there's somewhat of a flexible in terms of like meeting times, because we're working in a digital space and we understand there's a lot of things that you guys will have to, I would say, absorb in that way. It will fluctuate throughout the program. Once accepted in and we give you your schedules, you'll get a better idea of, so for example, for the first August, September, there's more frequent, these are the specific places and times that you have to be in, then, you know, you should be rolling into Entrepreneurship Week, and there'll be several programs for you to engage in at that point in time. And then once we get into October, November, December, there will be select programs where you have to attend. However, a lot of the work will be independent driven based on the milestones for where you are in your particular business journey. And then we'll verify those milestones in your check-in. So the latter half of the program is not as much, hey, we're going to sit down in this class and we're all going to learn about public speaking or building our network. It's, okay, so I have an idea for this dance company. And in my last meeting with Kendrick, we said the next things, the 5 next things I had to do was figure out where I want to have a studio, who are going to be my dance teachers, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say your timesheet or your task to so that you're compensated for your training is about you actually saying, okay, I now have my 5 dance teachers, and so we're signing off on hours based on your performance towards the milestones in your project. So it's less of I need to be in a classroom or working specifically with someone on our team. It's I'm taking my business forward or my idea forward, or wherever we decide that your next personal goal based on your work readiness, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so yeah. I think we see the question. There's a question around how does the program working around classes, and I'll be taking on campus and around my classes. So that's also kind of how our scheduling was built. So by the time most classes start up, that's when we're ramping down in terms of face-to-face time and hold on your schedule. It's going to be, you're going to have the ability to flex around your schedule. So what would give you a better chance of being accepted? From an acceptance perspective, like any application, I'm going to drop this gem for whatever you are applying for. You want to communicate to whoever is reviewing your application why you're a good fit to the program, why you want to be in the program, and how you would add a benefit to the program. So for example, taking myself back to pre-entrepreneurship, why would I want to be in this program? I want to be in this program because I need the training and I'm willing and ready to make that commitment of time. As Kendrick said earlier, it's really about a lot of discipline, being able to showing up and being able to follow through. So if you have any examples that you can share with us of that's the type of person that you are, that's the work ethic you have, great. That makes you seem like you thought about this program. How is this program a fit? If you already have a business idea, that's awesome. But if you don't, however, you are a solution-oriented person, you're the person that's always thinking about how do I make this better, or I see a problem and I'm trying to solve it, share that with us, right? Because that means, there's certain things about entrepreneurship that are just in it. There are people who are going to go get it and they are going to solve those problems. And then lastly, how do I want to contribute to the problem? So that's something that speaks to your ability to have vision and foresight. Right? So if there's any time that you can share with us in your application of when you've helped others, or your follow through, or your ability to be committed to a particular goal. And even if something, I always say when we work with our younger students, it's like, well, I've never had a specific job before. But if you are the person that is always showing up and always organizing the folks to do things, those are skills that, they come through other things besides your job. So I definitely want to say, when you're sharing in our long form questions and in your interviews, make sure you let us know what makes you feel like you would do well in the program. I don't know, Kendrick or Sheila, if you have anything else that you want to add to that.
No, I think you hit it pretty strong. I know as a question, but yeah, to just to end on that, one of the is what's your coachability like? What's your humbleness like within the class? I've had a couple of students who they have their business and like, hey, I know, and they wind up being somewhat of a distraction to the class and slowing me down and slowing other people. So your ability to really listen and take advice and show that you have that ability to do that in the interview will definitely set you out because that's what we're really looking for. We're looking for people that are going, that can speak up, but we're also looking for people who can take that knowledge in and retain it for a little bit before they decide to start espousing whatever they have to say. Willis Thomas.
What are the programs start and end times throughout the I guess the weeks or the days?
We will, this is Sheila, we will send out the program schedule to final participants, but you'll be required to be part of the program for 20 hours a week. And because we're paying you to be part of the program, if anything happens, you'll have to notify us. We do have the LMS as a supplemental tool. I do know some young people might have work outside of the program or other classes they're taking. So we will be able to figure that out. But once we send you your program schedule, you are required to notify us if you do have a schedule conflict. I also wanted to touch on something else too. In the past, we've worked with a lot of young people who have children themselves or young people who are taking other classes. We were open to work with you to, update your schedule and make sure that you have everything you need. But I will say that we do require that you are able to communicate that. We have had a lot of young people not realize that they do, if you miss a certain number of classes, we do have to unfortunately drop you from the program. Um, it's just something that we can't work around. So you do have to make sure that you're serious about working in the program. You're serious about being part of this program, and yeah, and that you can finish all your program hours.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and how many applicants are you accepting?
25.
Yeah.
Okay, 25. Thank you.
And I have a question here from Lionel Johnson. What's the success rate of previous participants? So for this YALP program, we have not done this specific one before. I can tell you the success rate from the last DOES program. It was primarily for adults and less children. We had about a 55% success rate. I don't want to. That hadn't, in my opinion, because I was teaching that class, I don't think that had anything to do with the students. I think that had to do with how we structured the length of the project. So we spent a lot of time. We spent about 6 months with them just in the classroom learning the fundamentals of entrepreneurship. And I think after a while, especially when they weren't getting stipends and they weren't moving forward in that way, I think that really slowed down their process. So one of the things that we're going to do in this cohort specifically is speed up the process so that they can get that fundamental knowledge a lot sooner. And then at the same time, they can be able to hit the ground running and start executing on their ideas and connecting them to the resources so that even when they're starting working on it, they're still underneath our supervision and our guidance and within our network while they're still working on their business so that they're not finishing the program. Then it's like, all right, well, good luck on your business out there. We want you to be working on your business while you're within the project. And I'm pretty sure that that's going to increase the success rate of it because it'll allow you to really be able to make some pivots, fail fast, and really learn what needs to be done, or in some cases, in the best cases, what doesn't need to be done in order for you to be successful. Mr. Johnson, I hope that answers your question. Okay, cool. Does anyone else have any questions?
So if there are no more questions, I'm going to have one wrap up question for the group, for everyone who's been presenting. This is once again Kate at DSLBD, and I want to say thank you to Shamika and Sheila and Kendrick for sharing this information session and this recruitment information session with everyone here. We are recording this so that you can see this later. But within that, I think everyone has a reason that they've showed up to hear about this today, but could you say just a little bit about why you are interested and invested in supporting youth entrepreneurship and why that's so important always and again today?
Is that to the crowd or to us?
That's for our presenters. Although if someone from the crowd wants to put something in the chat, that's also wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
But youth entrepreneurship.
So I will start. I started my entrepreneurial journey, I would say, a lot later than our other. Although I'm the eldest of the panelists, I started my journey the latest, and mostly because I didn't see it. I think this idea in representation and showing how it is possible is so important. If I had anyone reaching out to me at 16 or 17, just showing like, you don't have to be a millionaire to start a business. You don't have to start from the, like, it just seemed like entrepreneurship was such this overwhelming, unattainable thing. A bit about my background: I'm a Brooklyn-born Trinidadian. My parents migrated to this country from the Caribbean, and it was like I watched them go to work every day from 9 to 5. And I grew up in one of those households like they joke about first generations, and it's like doctor, lawyer, teacher. What you gonna do, right? Because it's about financial stability. I mean, I think I prolonged my entrepreneurship journey several times because for me it was, I need to be secure. I need to make sure that my bills are paid. I need to feel that level of comfort. And I mean, having gone to business school and then I circled back and it's like, actually, that doesn't provide security. That is not like a 9 to 5 is not necessarily the surefire way, one for everyone. And there's also a way that you can build for yourself. Like in this time, we are like our businesses are thriving, right? Like we, as you guys can see, super young with our baby faces, black don't crack, but here we are making this happen for ourselves. And had we had 9 to 5 jobs in places that seemed secure, we wouldn't be able to do that. So I just think showing you all that it's possible, creating a pathway and being committed to your development, it's not just about you, but like you then become people that can show others that it's possible. So like for me, it's like it started too late because nobody showed me that it's possible. So I'm just like, let's do this properly for you guys.
Sheila?
I was gonna say, I can do that. So I'm a little, I guess, different, but my grandmother used entrepreneurship to get us to the middle class. At the time, girls just did not go to school, and she was a Black woman raising 10 kids, actually. And her father wanted her to focus on getting married to a rich man. And she kept hearing, well, you're a pretty girl, so you should focus on getting rich by marrying a rich man. And she kind of, taught herself entrepreneurship, and she started by cooking. She was a really, really good cook and used that to then start, selling her food to other people, neighbors. And from there, raised enough money to open up a restaurant. And, down the road, she moved into other areas. And my mom grew up, seeing that. My mom was a school teacher. And so my grandmother's focus was to help my mom get into college because she wanted my mom to have a traditional journey so she wouldn't struggle like she did. And my mom went to college, and she became a teacher. She was a kindergarten teacher. And she also got the entrepreneurial bug. And she was just like, a 9 to 5 is not for me. I want financial freedom. And so my mom went into healthcare and opened up an elderly home, actually. And it did so well that she was able to help us get into college as her kids. And, a lot of my work has been traveling around the world and helping other people, see success and realizing that success is entrepreneurship. And from there, I starting FutureFirst to be able to work with young people from where I grew up, which was Maryland and DC. And so yeah, I'm now also an entrepreneur, and also opened up another business, which is a coffee company. But it just goes to show that sometimes examples do help, but other times you have to be your own motivation. You know, you might not see examples, and you kind of have to pull yourself out of the mud and feeling bad for yourself and saying, you know what, I'm actually going to try this. You know, uh, young people, your generation's a little different. You see these examples on social media, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. So you can self motivate, but it's just a matter of also reaching out and asking questions if you're just not sure, you know. And we're, you know, our company's here to support. DSLBD is also here to support, to just make sure that you can see those examples within your communities.
That's awesome. I guess, mine is relatively similar from the standpoint of family influence. With my family, it's interesting. So you have like, you go back one generation to my parents' generation, they all work. They all government employees. Some of them now are like in the space of like trying to, do some entrepreneurial things and some side hustles here and there, because everybody's talking about passive income and what have you. But prior to that generation, it was a generation of people who opportunities were locked out for them. They didn't have that access, whether they had degrees or not. These jobs weren't available for them, so they had to create their own opportunities for themselves. And by creating opportunities for themselves, always think about the times that they lived in. Like, wow, you were able to create an opportunity for yourself inside of right? Okay. And it's always like these large families of and of entrepreneurs. And that is something where they in their mind they're like, I'm working hard every day, all day, to make sure that my children never have to do this again. And then their children are in the mindset of, hey, I need to get a good job, and not really understanding the fundamental skills of having entrepreneurial mindset can actually really help you within an organization and help you grow. And then you have a generation below that with the millennials and sometimes the generation the Gen Zers or the Gen Xers, I'm sorry, that are also more entrepreneurial bound. But again, and this is no shot on the Gen Xers, but again, the Gen Xers follow rules, man, and they are very well behaved children and individuals. But I think now, as the economy is changing, as the social climate is changing, I feel like people are able to use their credibility of their skill sets and try something new. People are looking for excuses to support Black businesses right now. People are looking for excuses to support Black women, support Black men. People are looking for excuses uh, to take money out of certain institutions and replace them into other institutions. And when they replace that money in other institutions, that can come out in the forms of grant dollars, contract dollars, and all types of other money. So with I think what drives me to entrepreneurship and being around entrepreneurs is the ability to constantly be around opportunity and people that are talking about solving problems. What did Eleanor Roosevelt say? Like small-minded people talk about people, medium-minded people talk about events, and other people talk about ideas. And I don't want to criticize people for talking about people because I gossip. I got the tea sometimes. But at the end of the day, I think what it boils down to is being able to really talk about like solutions, because you can talk about solutions all day, and then after a while some people get tired of talking about it and they just want to be about it. And that's who I've slowly surrounded myself with, and I highly recommend you surround yourself with people who are being about it and not just talking about it, because you are a reflection of the 5 people you kick it with all the time. So even if you're like, man, you know what, I didn't make it in this round, that's cool. Prove to me. Hit me up. Hit Sheila up. Bother Shamika. Bother Kate. Everybody who's on this call right now, hit us up and be like, listen, I feel like I should have got in. And we will work with you and make sure that you get the help that you deserve. Because just because you're not part of the 25 has nothing to do with your ability to be successful. That just happens to deal with the fact that the Department of Employment and Services is only letting us train 25 of you. But that doesn't mean we're not going to be responsive and open up our resources to you all. Everyone here, everyone who's gotten an email from us, our door is wide open because there's no reason you shouldn't be successful, especially now. right now is important because whether you have a job or don't, you still need to be able to provide some insurance for yourself and your family to be able to provide. So we're here to support regardless. It's really nice to see a lot of familiar faces on the line here because it's just a really good experience to see that a lot of people are interested in entrepreneurship because you never know how this is going to work and you never know if it's going to be successful. But you have to be somewhat crazy in order to be an entrepreneur. Like you have to believe in something that doesn't exist. And by believing in something that doesn't exist, sometimes people call it crazy. I like to call it faith. And I have faith in myself and faith in you all to be able to achieve your goals. I appreciate you all giving me the time.
I think that might be all of our questions. I want to say thank you to our panelists. We have put into the chat, there's information that Sheila put in earlier about how to reach out to them. At the very end, I put some information about how to reach out to DSLBD. We will be sending a copy of the PowerPoint slides out to everyone who registered, and then as soon as it's ready, a copy of this recording. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now, but we'll stay on a few more minutes in case anyone has any more questions in the chat. Thank you so much, everyone.